Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. My name is Gabby and in today's video we're going to be making and packing a Christmas order. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So firstly we're going to cut up the clay and then we're going to condition it. I like to use pasta machine for it, but you can do it by hand. I'm currently using Atlas 150 pasta machine. We used to have a cheaper one, but it broke, and this one has been working with no issues whatsoever. I still choose to cut the polymer clay thinly first, just to make sure that I don't break this one too. And then I just condition it by going pretty much through all the numbers for the thicknesses on the pasta machine and back. And that definitely does the job. So we rolled out the white polymer clay, but it has a few dust particles on it, so I'm going to be using isopropyl alcohol to take them off. And if you used white clay before, you know that it loves to collect dust and any other fluff. So I'm just using cotton bud with just a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. You don't need a lot to take it off. It works better if it's just slightly wet and not like fully saturated. I also like to use the dry end just to get rid of any excess. And now we'll be adding Soul White and, can't pick it up apparently, Magic Blue, mica powder mixture onto the surface to make iridescent snowflakes. And I have this handy dandy little spatula. And I mixed the two colors on the side before I use the brush to apply it on the polymer clay. Probably gonna have some mica powder on my forehead in a second. The check is squeaking, I swear. I'm going to use a paintbrush to paint this on. So we're going to use a piece of cling film to cover this up so that they don't get stuck in the cutter while we're cutting the snowflakes out. But the cling film always sticks to me. Sticks to me. But the cling film always sticks to me. And now the difficult part, cutting these out, because it takes a bit of force to actually get in there. I have a snowflake print on my hand. Oh, that was like a workout. Bloody hell. So let's peel. You can actually see the beautiful iridescent shimmer on these, and they always get stuck to the baking paper, so I'm just using the blade to get them off. So let's clean up the edges. And I just use the needle tool to get in all the corners on the snowflakes and get rid of any excess clay that's stuck on it. And then I'm just going to add lines on these to add some detailing on the snowflakes so they actually look like snowflakes. And here I was doing it like outside in, if that makes sense, but then the middle would get covered, and almost at the end of this one I realized that I should have been doing it the other way around, because that way you don't get the middle populated with the polymer clay. And I'm also going to take the brush and run over all the lines with some mica powder, just to make sure that all the things that we just carved out are filled in with mica powder, so it looks nice and shimmery. So the next thing in this order is green glitter snowflakes, and I use the brush to distribute the glitter evenly over the surface of the polymer clay, and then I just use my finger to pat it in and repeat this process until all the glitter is on the surface and I'm happy with it. And I absolutely love glitter on polymer clay. It's so beautiful. I love glitter in general, so I'm biased. And then you know the drill, cling film, and then just using the cutter to cut out the snowflakes. So I usually leave the polymer clay a size thicker before I apply the glitter, and then pass it through the pasta machine at the normal thickness that I make the earrings with. And that's just to make sure that the glitter is really stuck on the polymer clay. So the next design in this order was for poinsettia studs, and I'm just going to cut up this green polymer clay in the shade sap green, and I'm just going to add a little bit of black to it to make it a bit darker green, like leaf color, and I'm just going to condition it. And then we're going to condition the polymer clay for the flowers in the shade carmine, and I'm just going to add a little bit of true red just to make this color a bit brighter. And then we're just going to use this cutter to cut out this flower shape for poinsettia studs, and I'm using cling film to make sure that the edge is nice and smooth and they don't really get stuck in the cutter, which they usually do. And then we're going to peel it off and peel the polymer clay, and even though it's much cleaner cut, it still has some residue, so I'm just going to use this needle tool to clean it up, and I also use the tips of my fingers to get the edges nice and smooth. So for the green one, I decided that I don't want to do it with cling film, and I tried it without anything and the clay got stuck in the cutter. But for the second one, I actually used a little bit of cornstarch, so I dipped the cutter in cornstarch and then I used it. At this point, I decided to take it off and then put it back on for some reason. I don't know what I was thinking, but I kept on going with the cornstarch and they came out really clean. The only thing is that some of the cornstarch was left behind, so you have to clean that up, but it's pretty easy to do with a little paintbrush. And even though it came out quite clean, I still went over the edges with the needle tool as well, just to make sure that it's all nice and smooth. This is where fun part begins, is actually adding the detailing, and for this one I somehow managed to get some of that carmine color in it, so I had to clean up with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol And then for the petals, I just literally push down the needle tool on every single petal. And then you just push in 2 on each side. And it's actually easier to say than do, purely because the camera was in the way, so I had to keep on switching my hands around and like switching the needle tool around. But it gives this like nice leaf kind of detailing on the petals, and I absolutely love it. Here's a different angle for it, and it's definitely much easier to do when the camera is not in the way. It's a bit higher. They are actually quite cute. And then we're going to do the same thing to the carmine colored petals. And I'm just going to let you watch this with a music break. So now we're going to assemble the two. So I usually put the carmine color on top of the green in a way that where there are no green petal, that's where the carmine one goes. And I'm just using the dotting tool to create the center of the flower. And I'm going to repeat this process for all of them. And of course, it wouldn't be my video if I don't drop something every time. So the last design in this order was for braided leaf dangles, and I'm just going to prepare 4 different colors. So the first one is white, and I'm using an extruder to get these thin noodles that we're going to use to twist to create this braided look. And then the next color is going to be this dark green color, like foresty green color. And I love this process. It's so satisfying, but it actually takes a lot of arm strength, but I absolutely love it. And then we're just going to do this true red colored noodles, and then the next color is going to be this darker red color. So we're going to start twisting the noodles together. So for the single colored ones, I just take 1 thin noodle and then I bend it in half, and then I start twisting it together, and I'm going to make 2 of those. And then we're going to do white and dark green, and since these 2 are 2 different colors, we're going to just twist them together instead of bending them in half, and we're going to be making 2 of these as well. And then we're going to do dark green and dark red, and I found that if I stick it to the baking paper and then twist it, it's much easier to twist them, and I'm going to be making 2 of those as well. And then we're just going to do dark green only. And then we're going to do dark green and that brighter red color. last but not least is going to be that brighter red color. And then we're going to start assembling the twisted noodles. And I know the clay underneath looks white, but it's actually translucent clay. So I'm just adding the two twisted noodles of white clay together, and then I'm just going to add another thin white noodle afterwards, and I'm just tapping it down to make sure that everything is stuck to the base polymer clay, the translucent one. And then we're going to be adding the white with green and patting it down again and adding another one. And then we're going to add just a thin noodle of dark green afterwards. And then we're going to add the dark green with dark red together. And sometimes it untwists, so you can twist it back and then pat it down. And I'm adding two of those. And then we're going to add the two of dark green ones. And again, if it untwists, just twist it back and pat it down. And then I'm just going to add a thin dark green noodle afterwards. And then I spotted a little bit of like dark thread, and I use isopropyl alcohol to take that off before adding the two braided dark green and bright red colored noodles. And then we're going to add a thin noodle of that brighter red color. And to finish it off, we're going to be adding the twisted two bright red noodles. And then I added a cling film on top of it, and we're going to use this leafy looking cutter to cut out the pieces. So they turned out pretty nice, and I'm just going to peel off the excess polymer clay, but actually ripped, so I had to do it twice. And then we're going to use this metal blade to get them off the baking paper, and I'm just going to use a precision knife to cut off any excess polymer clay that was left behind and clean up the edges. And now all the designs are ready to be baked in the oven at 110 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes. And now we're going to be applying UV resin to the iridescent snowflakes, and I'm using the precision tip bottle so it's easier to get in all the branches of the snowflakes. And I'm just going to do a bigger dot of resin in the middle in just a second, and then I'm going to use the dotting tool to spread it around and make sure that all the surfaces are covered so that the iridescent mica powder doesn't come off or doesn't rub off, so it's nice and sealed on the piece. And before curing it, make sure that you use a lighter to get rid of any bubbles on the surface, and then cure it using UV lamp for 7 minutes for each piece. So to finish off the poinsettia studs, we're just going to apply gold ink to the centers of the flowers. So now we're just going to be assembling the pieces, and for poinsettia studs we're just going to be adding gold-plated earring posts, and I did sand the post and the back of the polymer clay piece to make sure that it sticks to one another, and I also use a little bit of isopropyl alcohol to clean off the dust before adding any glue. So for the braided leaf ones, we use fish hooks, and we use gold-plated stainless steel fish hooks. And the green glitter snowflakes get ball pin earring posts. And look at that shimmer, it's so beautiful, and these cute iridescent snowflakes get these adorable gold-plated bow earring posts. And now we're just going to pack up the order. Every single pair gets its own earring card, and we stamp our earring cards using our stamp. And we also add soft plasticky back on the earring post just to make sure that it doesn't pierce through the packaging. So these poinsettia studs turned out absolutely adorable. I actually fell in love with this design over the Christmas period. They are so cute, and each of the earrings actually gets its own bag as well. So I'm just going to repeat the same process of adding the earrings onto the card and then putting them in the bag. I actually really enjoy packing orders. I feel like at that point, everything just so nicely comes together, and I don't know, it makes me quite happy. Another thing that we do, we actually wrap it up in this green tissue paper, and then I kind of wrap it up like a little envelope, and we add a little sticker to hold it all together. So the last thing to do is to put it all in a box, add a thank you card, and tape up the box, and it was ready to be sent out to its new home. This was actually his second order, and he ordered it as a Christmas present, and he told us that it actually brought Christmas cheer, and it was really lovely to read, and we really appreciate that. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye bye.